Call to order the meeting of the Greenwood Common Council on Monday, June the 5th. You would please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the pledge, please remain standing. We led in prayer this evening by Cleon Wright, pastor of Mount Carmel Christian Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray together. Almighty and merciful Father, in whom we live and move and have our being, we do thank you for this great nation in which we live. We thank you for all of those that serve in government in all locations of our great country. And now we would ask your blessing upon the purpose of this present assembly, that you would grant us wisdom from on high and an attitude to want to make decisions that you would be willing to approve, to bless, and to honor. This we pray in the honor of your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Bates,
Present.
Betron, here, Campbell,
Here.
Gibson, here, Hill.
Here.
Hopper.
Here.
Lexi.
Here.
Middleton is absent, and Williams.
Here. And we do have a quorum. All of you should have received copies of the minutes for our last regular meeting of May the 15th. Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Bates. Second? Second. Second by Mr. Lexi. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, then roll call on the minutes.
Bates.
Aye.
Betron. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye. Minutes are approved on a vote of 8-0. Reports, Corporation Council.
Item 70 monthly report is available on SharePoint.
Anything from the controller at this time?
Nothing at this time.
Any other committee or board reports? All right, at this time, Attorney Tom Vander Garen, we'll turn it over to you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Tom Vander Garen, Van Baylor Law Firm, 225 South Emerson, Suite 181, Greenwood, Indiana. From Van Baylor, if I didn't say that, excuse me. That's what I did ask for. Thank you for your patience. Well, I've been practicing in Greenwood since 1999. This is the first time I've been in front of you asking you to modify commitment to a rezoning ordinance. Okay, so that's, you can see the title there. It's 1464 West Stones Crossing Road. The owner is Amanda Nottingham, now known as Amanda Johnson. The developer is MGH Holdings LLC and Mike Cunningham. The Cunningham Real Estate Group. Here are some of the Cunningham Group's restaurants. Faster than I intended. Here we got the Brew Burger is one that will be at this location. We already have a Stone Creek on 135, but that is going to move to this location if this development comes to fruition and the developer buys the real estate. So the developer has not purchased this real estate. This project is not a locked-in deal at this point. The current conditions, we are east of Emmanuel Church and Copper Chase Apartments there at Stones Crossing 135, south of the barn at Bay Horse Event Center, and just north of the Swartz Crossing Commercial Subdivision. We got some apartments going up right now at the commercial subdivision for Schwartz. There is a picture that does not show those apartments that are going up right now, but that's help us all reorient to Stones Crossing 135. This is the most current version of a layout. It's conceptual for the 3 buildings and the pond. It has changed a little bit. I don't have that. This came together pretty quickly. I learned on Friday that I'll be standing in front of you tonight on Monday. So that's showing the last slide showed the 3 buildings in the pond. This is the Brew Burger, which right now, as I understand it, will be along Stones Crossing Road. This is the Stone Creek, which will be in back, closer to the barn at Bay Horse. And then this is a mixed-use retail building that will be next to the Brew Burger along Stones Crossing Road. So when this was in the fall of 2021, when you adopted the Common Council Ordinance number 2143, it rezoned this parcel from RL, residential large lot district use, to commercial medium format district use, to allow for the development of a multi-lot commercial subdivision with commercial retail uses. The Common Council, in addition to the commitments we proposed, the Common Council added several commitments that evening. The very last one, which we are asking you to amend by eliminating it, is mixed-use development, so that we can have a 3rd building out there that will be a mixed-use building. 2 restaurants, 1 mixed use. Our hope is, and this is all conceptual again, our hope is that we'll have an optometrist, a bank, and some uses that complement the barn, such as a hair a beautician, it's called a blow dry bar, and a wedding wedding dress retailer. Again, these are all conceptual. It may never come to fruition unless we can get this mixed use development restriction modified. Again, it was the last one that was added at the Common Council meeting when we were here back in the fall of 2021. So our ask is kindly that the Common Council amend the rezoning ordinance and the recorded commitments to allow for a mixed-use development on the subject real estate. This would not affect the 14 other commitments. I didn't count up the subsets under each commitment, but there's 7. There's usually 2 or 3 under each one. So the other 14 general commitments will remain. More or less what will happen is we'll have a couple restaurants and we'll have a mixed-use building there at Stones Crossing and 135. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
Any questions from the council? But the basic process is that if we choose to move forward with this, we'll have legal draw up an amendment to ordinance 2143 that would exclude the mixed use, and then it would come back before us for a vote at that time. So, any questions from Mr. Vander Lutgert?
I don't have one for him, but I have one for why it was added. Start with why did they not want mixed use?
I believe that it was added because they came to us with a specific use, and we just eliminated all the other uses because they had, I think there was some concern about residential possible uses under mixed use as well, so. Any other questions on the council? If anybody wants to add to what I just say, feel free to. All right. Yes,
I was just gonna add, they are all permitted uses, they're just not permitted to be mixed together. So they're all, the uses that he listed are all allowed in that district, so.
okay, all right, good. While you were there, mixed use, would that permit a mixture of retail and residential?
A mix of retail and residential would be allowed since they are both permitted uses, permitted principal uses in that zone.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from the council? All right, thank you.
Thank you for your attention. That makes a difference. We limit the mixed use to our proposed uses.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, we'll, if we decide to forward this, we'll have council draw up an ordinance and to amend ordinance 2143, and then it'll come back before us for a vote, so. All right, any questions?
Come back next,
All right,
2 weeks.
sorry,
Come back in 2 weeks.
most likely, yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'm not positive, I've been told though that this would be, since it's a rezoning ordinance, that it would be a one vote deal. Do you have,
That's correct. It was placed on by council, so it would be a one vote by council to amend it. It would not have to go back to plan commission or any other steps.
well, I was just, want to make sure that our normal process is introduction, first and then second reading. This would just be a one-time, one vote, is my understanding.
That is my understanding as well.
Okay, all right, good. All right, any questions? All right, then moving on. Oh, yes. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. This is the opportunity we set aside for members of the public to address the council concerning items that are on tonight's agenda. And if you would like to do so, there is a 5-minute time limit per person, 20 minutes per topic. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Donna Cale. My address is 767 Shepherd's Way. We had a lot of concerns about this. We live in Shepherd's Grove, which backs up to the area we're proposing to rezone. We'd like to make some points on this. In the area you're proposing this rezoning, we would like to point out that there are 3 major driveways within approximately 25 feet in this area already. The first one is the road leading in and out of Walmart, Home Depot, St. Francis Imaging, United Parcel. It's a small little unit, but just to name a few. About 7 feet from that entrance is the entrance to the Greenwood office building. Catty corner across the street from that Greenwood office building is the Reston Road. The area you are proposing to build a mini mall on is approximately 10 feet from that driveway. Thus, it would be trying to get in and out, which it already is. We understand that this proposal would be for a mini mall, approximately 2 stores, 3 stores. Originally, it was to be a beauty shop, and it was to be a small real estate company. That doesn't mean that it will remain that. If for some reason they get big enough and move on, or doesn't make it and they move on, here we are. They can do anything. When we had the meeting last week, the planning commission said we won't allow them to do a bar there, we won't allow this, we won't allow that. However, once that building is sold by that owner, That doesn't go along with it. He could still do that. Additionally, our little addition already has back up to Walmart, Home Depot, and the Greenwood office building. We've got a lot of fences going on there. We have wooden fences, they break down, we lose a slat, nobody fixes them. So we're saying, if you are insistent upon going ahead with this, giving us the additional traffic, even though they're small, I know it won't be a lot, but it's just that much more. We ask that the buffer be a nice brick wall or stone wall, something that's substantial that we don't have to look after all the time, and be large enough and tall enough that the lights will go into our neighbors' rooms, bedrooms, living rooms. They won't have to contend with the noise. I know if they put a parking lot in the back, which they eventually will have to because you can't back out on Smith Valley Road. So when they put a parking lot in the back, you know, they're gonna light it because people are gonna come out of the building at dark. So that's when we get in trouble. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at a parking area with lights that are shining in our roofs. So we ask, if you insist upon putting this in, please consider what we've asked for.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Connie Stuckel. I live at 719 Disciples Way, and I also live in the Shepherd's Grove subdivision. Right, how do I move my person? Okay. Well, I am not seeing the little here. Well, while this particular slide is here, this is what the surveyor gave, we were given when we were presented with a packet of information and that this was going to be considered to be rezoned as a small commercial business. As you will note, along here, there is the buffer zone. And Mrs. Kale spoke to her concerns about having a proper barrier put up, the stone wall, trees, so that as it does, if you do pass this, that it is going to, again, shine right into my home. And again, you've got, if it changes hands from the original plan, I would appreciate a substantial barrier, so for safety reasons for myself and the neighborhood. Where do you advance? I'm sorry, I just don't, okay. This is the plat map. This is Shepherd's Grove. You will note that, I wish I had a pointer I could use here. Right here. Yeah, right there. That is the area that you're being considered for the commercial zoning. This shows the current fence that is there. This is my front door. So you will see the white dot, and the concern I have for our neighborhood that there would be a proper buffer if you can zone this as commercial. Also, there is another fence that is running north and south by the corner of this particular fence. Oops, let's go back one, please. All right, this is an area where it's showing, right here is the property. Right here is the Greenwood office building. There's a driveway there. And you come down here. This is a driveway that goes into the Home Depot and behind Walmart. This driveway, whoops, I don't think you want to see it. Okay, and then across from there, I believe this is Carefree, south. And these are all intersecting in this location. And there would be another turn lane coming into this property. And again, adding to the congestion that's already on Smith Valley Road. Okay, can you go to the next one? And then okay, here I am illustrated with the arrows, the amount of traffic coming in, turning in, and trying to turn out of there. You're taking your life in your hands almost.
Ma'am, you have about 1 minute.
Okay, well, I just wanted to address the issue of the traffic is a big concern, the issue of for future use and giving our folks in Shepherd's Grove a good solid barrier if you zone this as commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? Step to the podium. You wish?
My name is Melanie Kopecki, and I live in Shepherd's Grove, 710 Disciples Way. And I just want to say the same thing that I said last time. Shepherd's Grove has been there for over 20 years. We only have one way out, and that is on Smith Valley Road. And so it's already a real problem for us. And we're older folks, you know, hey, you're all gonna be older someday. And we would like for you to consider our age and the fact that it is a problem already. And to add more driveways coming and going, it's going to be a huge problem for us. And I fear there's going to be more accidents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on this topic or any other topic? All right, seeing none and moving on, ordinances and resolutions. Notice of intent to consider ordinance number 2315.
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map adopted by reference to the Unified Development Ordinance number 2029, which was rezoning approximately 2 acres located at the southwest corner of Sarah Drive and North Emerson Avenue, sponsored by Lexi.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Alexi, a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Anyone want to talk to us about this one?
Well, I'm not the petitioner, but I can talk about this one a little bit. So this is on Sayre and Emerson Avenue. It is currently zoned industrial large. A lot of the uses around that are more commercial in nature. What they were asking was for a down zone to, let me see here. The IC, Interstate Commercial Zone, is kind of near the interstate on Emerson. Staff felt that it was appropriate to down zone from industrial large to a more commercial zone. They had intended for a dental office to go there with one other spec office building. It's come to my attention that the dentist is no longer looking at that site, but nonetheless, the petitioner wanted to move forward with a down zoning because they think that Emerson is more suitable for commercial uses. If you have any questions, I'm here.
All right, any questions?
We did have some recommendations per the staff report that I ask you to consider if you move forward with approving this zone map change.
All right.
I'm a little apprehensive to move or to change this, not knowing precisely what's going in. Typically, we know what's going in if we thought we knew what was going in, but if we don't, I'm not sure that I don't, my feeling isn't too.
The petitioner's not here?
They were notified of the meeting. I don't believe they're here. What I would maybe just say is that, currently this is an industrial large zoning. Across the street, there is a daycare. I feel that a commercial use might be more, in line with the daycare across the street. When we talk about zoning, we don't always know the project. But we want to make the best choice for the land, for the zoning of the land, even if that's not the, you're not voting on like a specific use, but you are voting on the zone that would allow for a variety of uses. I think that the variety of uses allowed under commercial would be better suited for this property.
I'm familiar with this area. It's the Williams Barrett Wilkowski Law Firm, and then just south of that is a CPA firm, just south of that is a daycare, and just south of that is this property. And I think that the current zoning of industrial is very inappropriate for that area. We've got basically 3 office buildings in a row next to it.
And I agree with that, David, but I've had some people that have contacted me that they're concerned not knowing precisely what's going in there for us to have.
But it's better than a gas station.
Oh, yes, for
Can we
sure.
just postpone to the next meeting and then we can go through the preliminary research for commercial meetings and just once we go one area, so we go to the next area.
I can prepare a list of the uses in the interstate commerce, and we can, if you choose, we can try to have this at the next meeting, and maybe I can get the petitioner to show up.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hopper to postpone ordinance 2315 to our next meeting, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on postponement? Hearing none, in roll call on postponement of ordinance 2315 to our next meeting.
Bates.
Aye.
Petrov. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper. Lexi.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Ordinance 2315 is postponed to our next meeting on a vote of 8-0. First reading, resolution 2307.
A resolution of the Greenwood Common Council to adopt a written physical plan for the annexation of approximately 0.97 acres located at 3221 West Smith Valley Road, referencing an annexation ordinance number 2314, sponsored by Hopper.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. Just for clarification, this is the adoption of the fiscal plan for the annexation. It's not the actual annexation of the property, so. Any questions on the council? Anybody want to talk about this one?
I think, is this the one we need to amend?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to amend it to include, the plan commission's recommendation, which is favorable on a 6-1 vote. With commitments.
All right, we have a motion, Mr. Hopper, to include in this resolution the recommendation from the plan commission along with the commitments that were included. Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the amendment to resolution 2307? Hearing none, then roll call on the amendment to resolution 2307.
Petrov. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
And Bates.
Aye.
Resolution 2307 is amended on a vote of 8-0. Any discussion on resolution 2307 as amended? Hearing none, then roll call. Resolution 2307 as amended, first reading.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
And Aye.
Resolution 2307 as amended has been adopted or passed first reading with a vote of 8-0. Ordinance 2313.
An ordinance amending the 2023 salary ordinance, common council ordinance number 2227 to change title and salaries of the record supervisor, Spillman administrator, and chief assistant positions in the Green Police Department, sponsored by Hopper.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second. Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on ordinance 2313? Hearing none, then roll call. Ordinance 2313, first reading.
Sorry. We can do it now or we can do it next time, I guess.
6 months halfway.
Yeah, I'm told it needs amended to be retroactive to the.
June 1st, correct, Chief Eisen? Is it June? Oh, June 5th.
So I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion to amend ordinance 2313 to make it retroactive to June 1st. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Gibson.
First or fifth?
June 5th? June 5th. Do you agree to that?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 2313 to make it retroactive to June 5th. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, then roll call on the amendment to ordinance 2313.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Petrol, and Campbell.
Aye. Ordinance 2313 is amended on a vote of 8-0. Any discussion on ordinance 2313 as amended? And then roll call, first reading ordinance 2313 as amended.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Petrol, and Campbell,
Aye.
and Gibson.
Aye.
Ordinance 2313 as amended passed first reading on a vote of 8-0. Ordinance 2314.
An ordinance annexing certain territory contiguous to the city of Greenwood, Indiana, placing it within the corporate boundaries and making it part of the city of Greenwood and redefining the corporate boundaries of the city. Greenwood, Indiana, to include approximately 0.97 acres located at 3221 West Smith Valley Road, sponsored by Hopper, set for a public hearing today.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Ms. Gibson, second. Second by Mr. Hopper. Is this scheduled for public hearing? Open up for public hearing. If you wish to speak for or against ordinance 2314, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, thank you. My name is Alan Hampson. My address is 5572 Rosebeef Drive, Greenwood. First of all, thank you for your time tonight. I am the petitioner for the property. As stated earlier, just wanted to clarify a few things on the intended use of the property and what we plan on doing there. It is going to be for my wife and myself. We're both private practitioners. We're single owners. My wife is owner of a salon with no employees. I am the owner of, or a independent real estate agent with no employees. The intended use of the property is to take the house that's already in place and modify the house. We're not adding any structures to the property. It's just going to take the current home that's already there and modify it to fit our needs. So just the two of us in there. Parking that we have in place is probably more than what's required, but we are putting more in place just for ease and access for our customers and clients, and kind of future-proof the property. So if needed, we could reduce that if that's something that we need to do. It's currently surrounded by Greenwood on all three sides, basically. It's currently Johnson County most because of the septic system that's on site. The reason we're asking for annexation is so that we can attach to the sanitary sewer that's on site and eliminate that septic system that we have in place. And it also aligns with the comprehensive plan that Greenwood has in place for future use of that property. We have already received and passed Rule 13 review for the Homeland Security for the property to be used as a business as it currently sits. With any future improvements to be made, to make sure that they're following zoning ordinances, which we would. Any concerns? Yeah, there's been a lot of concerns with traffic, with the property. I know that the current, plans for Smith Valley Road are to expand, into 2-lane road. That's one of the reasons we moved that driveway as far to the west as we could. There's gonna be a roundabout, or at least planned a roundabout at Reston Road and going into the back end of Home Depot right there. So that would eliminate one of those drives going into the office suites that are there, making it a little bit more easy to access. And we do plan, any improvements that we do, will of course follow any of the ordinances that are in place, proper screenings, which we had planned on doing already. At least 30 to 40 feet with the fence in place that's there already. The aesthetics of the property, it should be greatly improved, as well as walkability in the area. There's currently a sidewalk that this property bisects and cuts off. So it should increase walkability in the area and safety for pedestrians as well by attaching those sidewalks with this property. Currently, as it sits as a residential property, that can't really be done. So that's a benefit to the area as well. So property overall will be improved aesthetically and increase walkability and fit with the comprehensive plan of Greenwood. So, thank you.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against ordinance 2314?
Would you like to hear from staff at this time?
Yes, that'll be fun.
So I did take a couple of notes and just some concerns from earlier. One, the driveway is existing, that's there. It will actually be improved with ingress egress for access to the site. The commitments that you place on this property for uses, if you choose to place any on it, will run with the land. They'll show up in the chain of title, so if in future, they outgrow their spot, move on, sell the property, whoever that new owner is will be held to those same commitments. So some of the fears around the different uses that could come after them might not be applicable if they have commitments. There was talk about having a brick wall. I don't know if this is a necessary step. We do have buffering requirements for commercial next to residential. So that would include a 30-foot buffer with additional landscaping that they would have to put in and maintain. With that can be reduced. If they reduce it, they would have to put in either a masonry or a wood fence. So it would be a high quality fence between the properties. He's positioned the parking lot and the access as far away from the residential uses as possible. And then with this business use, you actually see it often being quieter in the evenings than you would even get with a residential home due to normal business hours. He already mentioned the roundabout and the road will also be widened there. The petitioner is aware of this and aware that this might change the layout of the site. I would also like to note that Plan Commission did give this a favorable recommendation, 6-1, and staff was in support of this petition. It is in our future land use map for this to be commercial, but it was also identified as a special district for more of a neighborhood commercial area. I think that the small business that they propose aligns well with our comprehensive plan and that the traffic would be minimal.
Were there some commitments put on this by the Plan Commission?
So the Plan Commission recommended staff's commitments that were included in the staff report, and I can go over those. In addition to those commitments, due to some public concerns, we decided to limit to recommend a commitment to limit the uses in the CM zone to the CS commercial small format table. And then we also put in an extra measure to commit them to excluding, which were already in a way excluded, nightclubs, adult entertainment, and adult bookstores. Those were brought up by the public as specific uses that they did not want next to them, which I don't believe they would have been allowed anyways. The commitments in the staff report. Oh, and I should note, the reason he did not zone as commercial small is because our zoning is set up by the size of the lot. His lot is too large to be compliant as a commercial small zone, which is why he had to zone in as commercial medium. But the commitments to the commercial small uses would in effect make this more of a commercial, small, less intensive property. The staff recommended commitment was to, when the site is improved, that the UDO requirements as amended, inclusive of landscaping, pedestrian facility, right-of-way dedication, stormwater, parking, etc., will be incorporated. 3 in total.
All right. Any questions for him at this time?
I do.
Yes.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak for or against
Wait, I have a
ordinance
question.
2314?
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
So is the way that it's written right now, that there's no other structure that could exceed the size and height of the current structure that's there, like, so if they decide to rebuild something later?
No, it's not worded that way. We do have requirements for building size and setbacks, for these buildings. Obviously, the building would have to be outside of the 30-foot setback, or not setback, the 30-foot buffer yard, that's required for landscaping. So when you have, uses that aren't the same, we have an ordinance set up to prescribe certain distances, certain buffering lengths and quantities of trees, to help separate that. But right now, I know of no plans to replace the building, but they don't prohibit that. And I would also like to note that currently, the property is zoned as multifamily R4 under the county. So it's under the county as a multifamily zoning.
I did have a question. What is that buffer consist of?
I'm sorry, but you need to address the council.
Sorry. I wanted to know what that 30-foot buffer is consisted of.
They mentioned landscaping and a fence.
Yeah, landscaping could be bushes, it could be ground cover. What kind of, are we gonna have bushes, we're gonna have trees, so we don't have to look at the parking lot when they move it to the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly on that,
So
but I think we may have an answer.
we're in a public hearing, it's for or against. Can we either close the public hearing or
That's
ask
true.
questions after, or?
Yeah. Right now, we're in a public hearing, point of order, and if you wish to speak for or against the ordinance, if you have other questions, you need to say those till after the public, well, we won't be able to speak after the public hearing, so.
I'm getting confused.
Yeah, so am I. A public hearing, you can speak for or against this ordinance. It's not a time to ask questions about what's going in, that kind of thing. So the time to ask those questions would have been at the beginning of the meeting when we opened it up to the public to speak about things on the council or on tonight's agenda.
Well, that wasn't mentioned in the beginning, so I'm sorry, but I just said now. I thought we should know what.
Well, I believe that that was probably covered at the plan commission meeting. Just
No,
what was required.
we were there at the meeting last week, and that wasn't what it's gonna be.
I think it's safe to assume that our zoning ordinance has an adequate description of what's required in a buffer zone, and we're comfortable with it.
Yeah, I believe we may have had an answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the buffer would consist of canopy trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. So it's 15 shrubs per 100 feet, 3 ornamental trees per 100 feet, and 4 canopy or evergreen trees per 100 feet. I believe it's per 100 feet, scribbling fast there. It's much more substantial than the buffering of trees that are there now. So that would be the quantity for the 30-foot buffer, which is required between these zones.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this ordinance? See none, close the public hearing. Any discussion on the council at this time?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I understand the petitioner correctly, they want personal care and beauty services, which would handle your wife's business, and you want professional office or office professional services to handle your business. Right. So can I exclude every other use except for those two and make you happy? Would that be okay? We don't need a crematorium on that property. We don't need, I mean, nightclubs and dance clubs are great and all, but we don't.
I would.
Yeah, go ahead and step to the podium.
Without looking at every single use that the property could possibly have, I'm not really prepared to answer that yes or no right now. I can and say that we are committed to using the property with only those two uses in mind right now, and with no intention to sell the property in the near future.
So you've been here for the whole meeting, right?
Correct.
Right. So worst case scenario, you have to come back like Mrs. Cottingham did and ask for us to change our decision if I exclude all those uses. Worst case.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that the commercial small list or the commercial?
It's both, they're side by side.
All right, any other questions from the council? Discussion, comments?
I guess I'm persuaded by the fact that this was part of the comprehensive plan to rezone this commercially. The comprehensive plan is what people are supposed to rely on when they build homes, build businesses, and they look at that field or property across the street and say, what could this be someday? This one said commercial property. I find that persuasive, and I'm persuaded by the fact that the planning commission approved this on a 6-1 vote.
All right.
So, but to my point, Dave, I mean, if we rezone it without more commitments, they could put a full service hospital on that piece of property.
Is that commercial
That's-
small?
That's a permitted use of commercial medium.
Well, this is he's already excluded all the commercial medium uses. That wasn't that clear.
Right,
He's
so-
already said he's gonna only go to commercial small uses.
So veterinary clinic, tattoo services, a gymnastics studio, a social club, a school, either primary or secondary, religious assembly, overnight lodging is permitted on that use for commercial small, a grocery store, a museum, a motion picture, mixed use, which means they can divide it and put whatever in there. So that's a special exemption, so they have to come back to that. Medical standalone emergency room, a psychiatric facility, outpatient urgent care, optometrist, a dentist. Okay, those I would probably allow, the optometrist. The library doesn't need to go there, again, traffic. Massage therapy, fitness center, or gym, a garden center, a funeral home, fast food restaurants, both full service and fast casual, with or without drive-through are allowed. Yes. A community facility for recreation, public health and safety, or park. We could move our government building over there.
I thought the fast food was excluded, but we
No,
rezoned
it's
from commercial medium to commercial small.
Okay, do you have a amendment you'd like to make?
What I would like to do is make an amendment first, to add the two commitments that were already made at the planning commission level. Which were already said, so I don't know that we need to go do them again, they were in the record, and the fact that it was a favorable recommendation 6-1, so those need to be added. And then I would move to exclude every use other than the office professional services and personal service PD services to cover the two businesses that they.
All right, we have
in the property.
We have a motion by Mr. Hopper to amend ordinance 2314 to include all of the commitments that were recommended by the Plan Commission. And in addition to that, to exclude all commercial small uses except professional services and what was the other one?
Personal care and beauty.
Personal care and beauty services.
Second.
Second by Mr. Williams. Any discussion on the council concerning the amendment to ordinance 2314?
May I quickly check on the drive-through permitted use for drive-throughs?
It's on the chart that you sent us.
Yeah,
2 days
I think it
ago.
was reading off the chart that you gave us.
I understand.
All right. let's
David,
get-
that list that you were reading through, I
Yes.
thought that part of the way through that, you said I would include that.
Well, a dentist or an optometrist, but
That would be under
worst
professional
case scenario,
services.
come back to us and ask.
Right.
Then we would know who was going in. I am a dentist, I would want to put my office here and we would say, okay.
But professional services, they would be listed
That's
already.
probably, real estate, attorneys, yeah,
Okay.
accounting.
Stop or come up with an ordinance.
Okay, so there is an error in this. Food service, quick service with fast food, quick service fast food with drive-through is not allowed in the CS zone. I apologize for that
Okay.
mistake.
No, it's okay.
All right.
But still, you can have a fast casual restaurant, a full service restaurant, or a quick fast food without a drive-through in there, correct?
Yes, all of the other eating and drinking, so, a restaurant would be allowed to go in a zone that we've designated as commercial.
Right.
In our future land use plan.
Any other discussion on the amendment to ordinance 2314? All right, hearing none, then roll call on
Was there a
the,
second on that?
yes, Mr. Williams. All right, roll call on the amendment to ordinance 2314.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Betron. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. And Bill.
Ordinance 2314 is amended on a vote of 8-0. Any other discussion on the council concerning ordinance 2314 as amended? I just want to state for the lady who asked about the buffering, if you didn't hear, trees and ornamental trees, other kinds of trees, whatever other possible evergreen trees and shrubs are in, there's a specified number that are to be put in depending on the size of the buffer zone, so. Okay. All right, any other discussion on the council? All right, hearing none, then roll call, ordinance 2314 as amended, first reading.
Lexi.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Betron. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Bill.
Aye.
And Hopper.
Aye.
Ordinance 2314 as amended passes first reading 8-0. Second reading, ordinance 2312.
A ordinance providing for additional appropriation from the American Rescue Plan Coronavirus Local Physical Recovery Fund, the budget classification 445 for $183,658,000 for air purification system and our auxiliary heat system sponsored by Gibson.
We have a motion. Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Bates. This is scheduled for a public hearing. Open it up for a public hearing, and if you are here tonight and wish to speak for or against ordinance 2312, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Any discussion on the council, ordinance 2312? Hearing none, then roll call, second reading, ordinance 2312.
Williams.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Betron. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Bill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Lexi.
Aye.
Ordinance 2312 passes second reading 8-0. New business, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 2316.
An ordinance vacating platted detention easement in the replat block B of Greenbrook Park, sponsored by Campbell, set for public hearing June 19th.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Jackie Briggs, 1478 Eagle Trace Drive, Greenwood, Indiana, 46143. We are requesting the plat for this that was, I think you've got copies of there. that was done in 2017. This is by the airport, south side of County Line Road, east of Airport Parkway. The original plat had the detention easement up here in the corner. There was not a project planned at that time, so they wanted to be sure and plan for detention and drainage. We now have a project planned, and that is moving through planning and engineering. It is Greenwood PC 2022-101 and 2022-102. This site plan provides for, this is north, and there's some copies up there for you. This site plan provides for drainage and detention on the south end of the project. This is the Harmony at Greenwood project, the upscale senior citizen development by Smith Packet out of Virginia. So we are asking, in order to have our plat approved for the new development, we need to vacate the detention easement on the old plat. That's what we're asking.
All right, any questions from the council at this time? All right, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
All right, miscellaneous business. This is the second opportunity to set aside for members of the audience to address the council, this time concerning items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to do so, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and there's a 5-minute time limit per person. All right, hearing none, moving on, council CF1s.
Oh, sorry, I realized it was my turn.
Yes, it is.
I'll move to find Polytainer personal property in 1305 in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Move to find Granite 831 North Grand in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Move to find Emery in the N3 LLC in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Move to find PCT Holdings 1826 in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Move to find 1173 Airport Parkway in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Move to find Cedric Properties in substantial compliance. Second.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
I think I would like an explanation from LLSC Properties why I have half as many jobs at the next meeting probably, and not do this one tonight. That's okay.
Yes. Is there?
We can get that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know if they need to come in, if it's a decent explanation, but yeah, just let us know.
We'll get it forwarded to you.
Okay, thank you. Move to find PCT Holdings Resolution 2124 in substantial compliance.
Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously.
I am not gonna move to find these folks in substantial compliance. Mostly because they promised jobs at about 48,000 and according to the paperwork, it's at 17,000. So probably need an explanation from that too. Otherwise, I'm inclined not to find them in substantial compliance.
All right. So we'll need an explanation on
7
and 9. We can get that. Thank you. All right. Any other miscellaneous business from the council? Anybody? Any miscellaneous business for the corporation council?
Conflict of interest. sheets.
Oh, yeah.
Conflict of interest for Lisa Marie Vest, HR director, for any interest you may have in her son's, Preston Bertram's internship through the current college.
All right. Do you have a motion? Motion, Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Lexi. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Conflict of interest for Ronald Vest, for any interest he may have in his stepson's works for maintenance in his internship at Franklin College with the city.
All right, motion by Mr. Hopper, second by
Second.
by Ms. Gibson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Conflict of interest for Joseph Saylor, community interest you may have in employment of Monica and Mary Saylor as part-time work for the legal department.
Motion by Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Last one is a conflict of interest for Robert Taggart, Director of Parks Recreation Department, for any interest he may have in work done by the Hitchcock Design Group. I believe his wife is an employee of that firm.
All right. Motion by Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Anything else?
That's it from the Corporation Council.
Anything from the mayor? All right.
Do you have the popcorn?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have them up here. All right. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.